Good morning, friends. It's Nancy. Just going to shove this up a bit so I can try to stay in frame. I'm going to show you this flip through of my 1940s journal. It was a real labor of love for Labor Day. This has a hidden spine, curved back spine, and I used an assortment of vintage fabrics to make this patchwork. I'm really proud of how this turned out with the rickrack and the bias tape and the fabric, and then I added some more patchwork to the back. Let's see. It is just about 9 inches tall and just about 6 inches wide. Has 7 signatures. At the top here I've got a little bit of red rickrack showing a little bit of cheesecloth. So there's 7 signatures, and again, here's some more rickrack and cheesecloth at the bottom. All right, this book plate was inspired by Natasha at Treasure Books. She has a lovely little video about how to make book plates. So I used some vintage fabric, a little bit of lace, and a piece of linen, and some shirt buttons. And my sister cult member of the index card cult, she urged me to put this doily here. I showed her a picture with and without. She said, do the doily. So there's a vintage doily there. Inside, there's some vintage. This would have been called a dresser scarf, I think. At least that's what my Nana would have called it. And so I've cut it in half, front and back. So here I have a little flip of lace, and tucked up inside it I put this little book that's made out of vintage greeting card. And there was this, I don't know, feel better, wish you weren't sick anymore thing. I covered that up with a photograph from the inside and made a little booklet out of tea-dye paper. So that just slides in there. Oh, I should show you this. This is 1946. The copyright's right there. Simplicity pattern envelope. To stabilize this, I added a piece of paper in between the front and the back. And this is the flap where I've tucked in this little journaling spot. I added a little bit of vintage fabric, and that's definitely a vintage button. Old notebook paper. This is also an envelope from Embroidery Transfers. Vintage greeting card. I've left the greeting cards empty. There's 7 of them in this book, 1 for each signature, so that you can tuck a photo or a receipt or anything you like in there. Here's a tip I wanted to share. When you're adding lace to pages, to the edge of pages, sew from the opposite side, sew on the paper side, because it gives you a much nicer finish. And then where the needle goes through, where it pops up the paper, it gets hidden in the lace, so it has a much nicer finish. I did that on this side as well, and you can't see kind of the ugly side of the stitching. That's the back of the greeting card. Here's the gusseted, better tip this up so you can see. This is the gusseted envelope pocket that I made, so you can side load some bulkier things in there. I made a video of how to do that last week, I think. A couple rows of vintage rickrack. This is some old ledger paper. I love that it's pink and blue. All of the cards I chose have this sort of pink, blue, green sort of color palette. This is a mimeograph of a invitation to a golf tournament or something like that. So I added this little pad of tea-dyed paper that I used a plastic lace tablecloth to give the laciness to it, and I just added that there to cover up the golf course map. And this little flip out, it does have a slight pocket. You can, you know, tuck something in there, but that wasn't my intention. I thought it, you know, that was a good place to add a list of something or some notes. Here is a vintage envelope, which is gorgeous with the green and red. And look at that big apple. Inside I have this happy couple at $29.75. So you put $1 down and pay 75 cents a week on it. That came from the Toronto Star. Came from a newspaper. Here's the other part of the golf tournament sheet. Has a tuck spot there of this lovely lady golfing, and I used some of this Denison mending tape to just add a little bit of interest there with the old-fashioned tape. It's not sticky. I think this would have been a lick and stick, but because it's gummed like sort of like an envelope. But I used my glue stick, my Elmer glue stick to glue it on. Here's a little tuck spot, and there's a man with his beret. No, that's not a beret. That's a peaked cap, isn't it? With his brill cream. A couple pieces of vintage fabric there. A little bit of eyelet lace. Here's a side-loading pocket that I made using these images of these ladies. This folds out, and you just tip the tab back so it holds it closed. This came from a pattern envelope. Here's some more of that mending tape. This is an image from a book. This is a brochure about saving coupons from pasta packaging, and this is what you can get with the coupons. You get a tufted bath set for 250 coupons. Added this little pom-pom trim. This is a piece of paper that was inside a ball of crochet cotton, and it has advertisements for little pattern booklets that you could purchase. So I just added that there. Here's another side-loading pocket. I made this tag from the packaging of bra strap, adjustable shoulder straps. I added some vintage shopping bag paper, made this little pocket here, added a tuck. This is one of the bra straps that I used as the tab. I think that turned out cute. Another little tuck spot. Made this little envelope out of a page from a book about embroidering letters. Added a little bit of lace there. This is a bookmark. I'll show you this page first. It's an altered paper clip here, and I've added this little Betty Crocker ad. But if you take the card off, the paper clip off, this is a bookmark that you can fold out, and I've just added 5 different bridge score sheets. So maybe this is something you might want to grab to jot a note down and then stick it in one of the greeting card envelopes. I have a video about how to make these altered tags as well, and the special part about it, I guess, the unique part about it is in the center of the paperclip inside, I've loaded it up, patted it with a little bit of cheesecloth so that it doesn't create a ridge on the front, and I've added a little bit of vintage seam binding. Another pink and blue and green card. This is from a stamp album. Here's another piece of a wrapper from the inside of a crochet cotton. I just made this little tuck spot, or journaling card to go in that tuck spot. Here you can give yourself a coffee break. There's the instructions. Give yourself a coffee break. This is some vintage fabric that I made a little cup out of, and here's some Nescafe. Yum yum. Oh, this is a pocket as well, made out of pattern paper. Paper pattern, I guess. Another altered paper clip. On the back is the quintuplets. The quintuplets are 1930s era, but the colors were so cute. This is a 1949 receipt, and I've just backed it onto an index card to give it some strength. Thank you, Darlene. And made this tuck spot here. This is a little pad of paper, and this is feed sack material with a little bit of rickrack on top. The wrapper for some folders, and a little bit of lace and fabric. And here's the folders again, and I made this pocket these are images from a book, and then this tag, the fabric, it's probably hard to see, but it has yellow and green and red to match the folder there. Keep sliding down. I want to make sure I keep it in the frame. Another vintage card, and all of the cards of this era, they're paper, but they fold out, so you could do a lot of journaling there. I put that in a side loading pocket. This pocket is made from the reverse side of this birthday card, so there's a lot of pockets going on here, but a little bit of vintage fabric, some eyelet lace, another side loading pocket, and I added this journaling card, and this is a top loading pocket, and I chose pink and blue fabric and a vintage pink button to match the little blue birds and roses. So I'm happy with how that turned out, and the pink background matches the pink background of that card. Just give me a little side eye. This is from some paper. I made this tag about a year ago, and I just love her, but she needed to be used. So I made a little skirt out of pattern paper, and there's a little lace flower and a big snap. And I made this pull-out card. It says candy is delicious food, and I tend to agree with that. And I added some hand crocheted lace on the side, so that just loads right in there. A little bit of lace there. I love this card. It's so beautiful. I was tempted to cut it apart, but I resisted. Even the inside, it's pink. Here I had some leftover, I still do have some leftover of the patchwork. And if you want to see how I did the patchwork, I just glued squares of fabric down to a folder and then stitched around it. I could make a nice bookmark out of that or something. Anyway, a little fabric on an index card. This is also a pocket. So I made this little journaling spot. Some more vintage hand crocheted lace. These are vintage Denison labels that came out of this box. And I've just tucked them up into this pocket that I made out of this advertisement from Eureka. So this is a box of Denison labels. I decorated her up with a little hat and gloves. Another altered paper clip, but this is Red Rock Cola, not Royal Crown. And it's holding this journal card of knitted mittens and gloves to go with this page, the knitting notes. And I added this image of a man with his knitted sweater on as a tuck spot, and this is a little journaling card that I made out of a card of mending wool. I think this is my favorite page. So here we have the A&P label on top of some tea-dyed paper doily. This is tea-dyed grid paper that I made little envelopes out of. And I put... it's not that hard, Nancy. Come on. I put this little image inside here. But you could take that out, put anything in there, and it just flips back under there. What's going on? It's fine. Operator error. This is also a little tuck spot. And there's mother and son shopping. And here you can get a Borden's instant coffee. Yum, yum. Maybe I'll leave that card in there. Why not? On this side, there's some little photos. This one says School Days, 1946-47. Here's a little wedding photo, 1942. And here's a baby. Doesn't have a date, it just says to Grandma from Jack with Love, age 15 months. These are the back of the envelopes. Little tiddlywink game. This card, when I was sewing the signatures, I did a little tear. I caught my thread on the edge there. So I thought about, because it's the center of the signature, I thought about removing it altogether, but I thought, I can live with it. But if the person who purchases this journal can't live with it, just know you can easily remove it, because you can just sort of tear it out gently. This is some stationery from the Fleur-de-Lis travel service. I love it when the cards have this little extra image on the back. Some more vintage fabric, and this is a index divider for recipe box. It's had some love. It says cookies, handwritten there. And it just slides right into the green giant. And this is also a tuck spot, and I just popped in this photo. It's a postcard, actually, of this lady and baby, and they both look so happy. And here's another image. Those shoulder pads look very 1940s. And the final page. So this is a altered paper clip of Evening in Paris powder, and it says wartime pack. So I'm thinking, you know, there was a lot of restrictions on metal, so maybe it was in, instead of a compact, maybe it was in a box. I don't know. And the back of the journal, I have left the seam binding upstairs that I want to use to bind this, but I'll post a photo later. If you're seeing this video, it has been listed on my Etsy shop, and yeah, I'm excited about this one. I want to make another because I have made enough ephemera for like 3 more journals. So yeah. So maybe I will, I don't know. Anyway, thanks so much for watching the video, and we will talk to you again soon.